Each one of these groupings that we've had, Chris, has been fun. But obviously, this is the one we've all been looking forward to. I'm excited about it. We have 1 through 5. We've had 4. You and I have only had 4 quarterbacks each day in the past, so we get 5 today. Obviously, it begins at number 5. Take it away.
Lamar Jackson, the MVP of football. And yes, there I am, the Tiger King, a.k.a. the Chicken King, okay?
Leave that up there.
Yeah, you like that, don't you? But,
Yes.
hey, we know Lamar Jackson, awesome, exciting, one of the most explosive players in football. Certainly dangerous in so many different ways. The skill set is vast. We know the running is electric. It's as good as anybody we've ever seen in football at the quarterback position, other than Michael Vick. The throwing continues to go on an upward arc.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a natural thrower. This is the one thing I think, and this is where I know when he was coming out of Louisville, I sang his praises and for a long time said he was the best quarterback in the draft because that's what I saw, Paul. I saw a quarterback who wanted to throw in the pocket and deliver the ball to his wide receivers. And then when things broke down, he said, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to run, right? And I do mean he's a natural thrower, Paul. I think he's one of those guys. He can pick up a baseball, football, whatever object, skip rocks on a lake, whatever you want to do. I think if we went out and threw it with him, we go, man, that sucker can throw the ball. Woo, he can throw the rock, whatever it is. He can do it all. Now, the negative, is he a polished passer yet? No, I think that's where, there's a little difference there. And people might go, well, what do you mean he's a great thrower but not a polished passer? Yeah, okay. So, a great thrower, hey, strong arm, can pick it up and he can throw spirals and rockets, and he can throw it sidearm. He can jump in the air and throw it and still hit the target. But polished, and when I'm talking polished, I'm talking, okay, pockets clean, 5-step drop. You got to hit the 10-yard out. No, there's still inconsistencies with that. Hey, pockets clean. There's a slant route open. Yeah, you completed it, but the guy had to stop in his tracks, and it just ended up being a 5-yard completion. And instead, if you hit him on the numbers and let him run, it might have been a 30-yard completion. I think a number of throws like that. And sometimes the inappropriate trajectory on the ball, too, where you go, oh, why did he throw the laser there? If he just touched that over the linebacker, that's going to be a big completion. Or vice versa, where you go, oh, I don't understand why he lobbed that ball up and let the safety make a play on it when he could have thrown a laser in between 2 dropping linebackers and that safety wouldn't have had anything to do with it. So to me, it's just those nuances that are holding back Lamar Jackson, and I think they're conquerable. He's gotten better at it. I've seen it already, but I think that's what keeps him at 5 for me at this moment, and why I won't put him into that top 4 and ahead of some of the guys we're going to talk about here in a few minutes.
He was 30 last year, and obviously 25 spots with his jump. That's the biggest of any quarterback on your top 40 list. I'm going to play the other side here a little bit. I mean, there was a stretch, October, November, December, majority of the season last year where you watch him, and it didn't look to me like there were 4 quarterbacks better during that 3-month stretch. So why not even higher?
Well, I get you. No, I mean, you're right. I mean, when you just look at the stats and the machine of which Baltimore was, and of course he took advantage of a lot of plays that were there to be had, you went, well, this guy is amazing. This is awesome. But I think it goes back a little bit to, that passing element I'm talking about. First off, they're a machine. And listen, they're a really well-built football team. They're certainly capable, like we saw, of physically dominating people. And, hey, listen, there's 2 sides to this story, I guess, is what I want to say a little statistically with Lamar Jackson. Because of his ability to run the football, and their ability to put the right pieces around him to build this special offense in Baltimore, yes, it puts defenses in a tough spot sometimes where they just go, we got to put 9 guys at the line of scrimmage or we can't stop the run game here. And then because of that, we look at it and go, whoa, there's Lamar Jackson. He threw for 4 touchdown passes. He's an amazing thrower. Look at this, blah, 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 blah. And I want to go, yeah, he's a really good thrower. Don't get me wrong. But, his great running ability is setting up some great passing looks sometimes too, to maybe fool us into thinking he's a little bit better of a thrower than he is. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, right, Paul? And I think there's 2 things too. just the playoff football, okay, the last 2 years. This is what really jumps out to me, and this is why he's really 5. And this is why I think he's got to improve as a pocket passer and be better this way. When teams, the Chargers 2 years ago, the Tennessee Titans last year, when they had a good feel for that Baltimore Ravens run game and didn't get physically dominated by it, and now, okay, we've got our feet underneath us to stop this run game and everything like that. We can err on playing the pass a little bit now because we've started to slow that part of the attack. Lamar Jackson, I don't think, is quite ready to carry the team with his right arm, Paul. That's basically what I'm saying. That's, to me, just the last piece we need to see from him to where, yeah, maybe he could be the number 1, number 2 quarterback next year.
Because you brought up the postseason, and it's been in the news a little bit here recently with Lamar and Coach Harbaugh also talking about a little bit about the failure in the playoffs against the Titans last year. How much of that do you put on him? How much of the blame do you put on Jackson for the fact that not only that they lost, Chris, I mean, there's certain parts of that he could do nothing about, but the passing game and the point scoring was so far below the average that they'd established?
Yeah, well, and to me, that's a little bit, and I don't want to blame all Lamar Jackson, but to me, that's again just speaking to the bigger point of why I got him number 5. Because, yeah, there we are. Oh, we weren't bludgeoning him with the run game. Our defense wasn't dominating. And all of a sudden, we couldn't get in the end zone and score touchdowns or make big plays in the pass game. And, I don't put it all on Lamar. First off, I think the team laid an egg a little bit in the Tennessee Titans game this year. I think also a little bit of just, human natural emotions came into it where I think they saw, whoa, the Patriots are out of here and we're going to play Houston or Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. We already blew out Houston. Titans are 9-7. We're 14-2. Man, let's get ready for the Chiefs because we're going to be playing them in the AFC Championship game. Do I think that happened to them a little bit? Yeah, I think they got a little excited once they knew New England was out. And do I think John Harbaugh mismanaged a few situations in that game on the 4th downs? Yes, I do. I think they panicked a little when they got down early because they were so we're used to just steamrolling teams. This team's beating us? What the hell's going on? So I think that kind of funneled downhill into a lackluster performance. And then the same thing the year before. Again, it was Lamar's rookie year. They were still experimenting with that offense and getting used to it. But the Chargers had seen it earlier in that year. And now their second time around, they were used to some of the tricks of the offense and the run game and things like that. And Baltimore and Lamar at that point weren't ready to open up and let Lamar throw it 50 times a game if that be the case, like we saw against the Tennessee Titans in the divisional game. So I don't put it on Lamar, but I certainly think it's an aspect of his game that could use some polish. Like I said, he improves in that area. He'll be about as unstoppable as we've ever seen at the quarterback position.
You look at a number of ways to evaluate the Ravens offense, points, wins, Lamar's individual numbers, super impressive. But if you really want to look at something to pick at, you look out wide, and the wide receiver production for Baltimore, average at best, if not below average. Those tight ends towered over them in terms of what they were producing. Is that more their talent or the scheme that's lacking, or something about, you referenced it earlier, about Lamar not quite being a polished passer yet?
Well, I think no. I think that they haven't. I think you bring up a great point, first off. And I think you're right. They've been a little undermanned at the wide receiver position. Also within that, I don't think they want to worry about being the greatest show on turf at wide receiver. They want to win games with their tight ends and their physicality and the Lamar Jackson factor of, is he going to run? Is he going to throw? You don't know what the hell we're going to do. But I think, again, yes, with a guy like Marquise Hollywood Brown in year 2, who's going to attract a lot of attention, getting Duvernay from Texas in the draft, I think he's going to be a piece that really fits how they want to play football, right? So I think the thing is, again, they're never going to be looking to be like the Kansas City Chiefs or the St. Louis Rams and the greatest show on turf. But I think they're slowly improving that position. And the stats are never going to tell all the story about Lamar Jackson, the passing game stats altogether. But again, I think this is a year where Baltimore is going to have to think about, do we really want to run Lamar Jackson as much as we did last year? And I would say no, maybe in the big games, but I think they got to take the pedal off the metal a little bit in that department and start to grow him as that passer that we're talking about, because I think it's only going to help them come playoff time.
And finally, if you were a defensive coordinator, one of the 3 defensive coordinators in the AFC North, you know you're going to see them at least twice next year. To make Baltimore's offense try to beat you, let's say, left-handed, are you loading up and saying, Lamar's not beating us with the run, we're designing a scheme that tries to take away the run? Or are you prioritizing limiting the tight end production? Because as we talked about, that's really where they're going with the pass.
Yeah, well, it's definitely those two things. You're right about that. I mean, it is. It's one of those two you pick and go. And I think, more than anything, you probably need to worry about the run, okay? Not only, hey, Lamar Jackson, the other running backs they have, certainly. But when they get that rolling, it just becomes impossible to stop anything else, because then the play action passes and the bootlegs have such an effect on a defense to where, I mean, you and me sometimes could throw to some of these people. They're so wide open the way they dominate in the run game. So to me, it would start with the run game. To me, the right way to play is a little bit, a San Francisco 49ers type of style of defense that showed them some issues. Not necessarily man-to-man, because you can't play Baltimore man-to-man a lot, because, you got a guy guarding the tight end, a guy guarding the tailback, and all of a sudden they're crossing up in the backside, the back of the formation. And if you're playing man, you're going to have guys, linebackers and safeties running into each other. So you have to be very careful about that. That's the Lamar Jackson effect. But I also think I would play zones, safeties down in the box, try to stop the run game, and try to say within that, hey, the safety's down the middle, we got a deep safety in the middle. Maybe that scares you from the tight end stuff down the middle, and maybe forces Lamar to go, hey, go outside. Look, there's Hollywood Brown one-on-one with one of our guys. We'll let you have that. If you can beat us with that, then hey, then we're beat. But you gotta see it to believe it, or you gotta prove it to us. And that's probably how I would attack Lamar at this point.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.